Bueno, si me lo permite, yo...
If you allow me, my intervention will be from here, if you allow me. I am Mrs. Suarez, first Vice President of the Union of Cuban Computer Experts and Executive Chair Lady of the Internet Governance Forum that has been held in Cuba so far. My objective here is mainly to socialize and share with you and comment on and even receive from you on suggestions on these meetings, on these issues, and about how we have been holding Internet Governance Forum in Cuba, beginning in 2019, and considering the progress that we already had in our country as to the people's and citizens' involvement with Internet, where we know that exponentially our country began using Internet very much. And we, as a government and as a civil society and academia and experts and researchers and company people, believe it would be good to hold national Internet governance fora with several objects and others various principles. In this sense, we decided to create the working system for having fora every 2 years to have our own vision for Cuba about Internet and to have all players with a integrating and debate space for public policies, standards and procedures, and that this would be of use for our government to know about the views from society and also to execute and face and avail ourselves of Internet opportunities to support the use and development of Internet in our society. Thanks to this very fora, and to help the population with getting familiar about or with the risks of Internet use. We were also talking about, in this case, of the ethics of Internet and to understand how Internet should be used by children and teenagers and young people. And there were topics that we proposed for the holding of this forum. Also, to create a community that at the Internet Governance Forum had the opportunity to know locally about the projects that were being carried out by all stakeholders and which nevertheless were not integrated. One of the achievements that the Internet Governance Forum got to us was that local governments from the community had an involvement and that they promoted the unfolding of many Internet-related projects in Cuba. In this governance forum, we tried to make clear statements and have defined training methods that have become systematic already. Without or before we had the fora, we hold Internet Governance Fora courses before we hold the fora. I would like to say also that our governance fora are intended to promote access, inclusion, and equity for Internet. And we can say that in Cuba we hold workshops or small governance fora in each provincial city or town in Cuba. In each of them, the people are included and learn, and topics are discussed in a more specific way, having in mind local and community necessities. With all that work, with all that inclusion, with that integration, because we include journalists, communicators, jurists, and society in general, we can hold then the National Internet Governance Forum. I believe it is a rather new modality. It is a creative one, and no doubt it will allow women and disabled persons and others to have more access to internet knowledge and to internet skills. Because as I said before the forum, we have training sessions and previous events on internet. This was seen in the first event that took place in 19. The second event was hybrid. We were then trying to have more people in attendance and to have more citizens in general. Finally, we make statements I would like to share with you. We call for the better use of available connectivity to have more efficiency and labor productivity and higher service quality. We call for creating our own Cuban vision, the socialist version of what internet is all about, so that its use is promoted for the benefit of sovereignty and our principles. We uphold the urgent need to promote through the mass media the work by schools, so as greater efforts are made so that children and teenagers know more about internet. We support the implementation of inclusive, transparent, equitable, and social justice-oriented policies, and recognize the efforts being made by the Cuban state to expand internet access to Cuba, and also the need to continue developing those services for the benefit of the population and citizens in general. We would like also to share with you that we've had very good moments with open spaces. I mean, with open microphones. We always share with the population the concerns and the problems concerning the use of internet and its services. In that space, all stakeholders can air their views on the topic and make proposals on it. And in that way, the population gets nearer to communities and to local and provincial governments and the national government. And having in mind the criteria of the population, public policies can be implemented more in line with the expansion of internet use in Cuba. This is a presentation that I wanted to share with you concerning internet governance, and we invite you to participate with us in internet governance meetings that we will hold in October 2024. It will be held under the slogan for virtuous, the sake of virtuous internet, as taught to us. Sorry, it's 2025. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next we'll go to our remote participants, Ms. Jacqueline Marsh.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Today I'll be sharing highlights from the Trinidad and Tobago Internet Governance Forum 2025. The theme was Building a Multi-Stakeholder Digital Future. It was the 7th annual Trinidad and Tobago Internet Governance Forum, and we had it over 2 days. Day one in a hybrid format. Day one, we had online panels, and day two, we had a youth forum and then in-person presentations and sessions. So the day one sessions, we had a panel on artificial intelligence in education, navigating the future. We found the discussion explored opportunities and risks of AI in the classroom and concerns such as bias, ethics, and digital equity. The second presentation was on cybersecurity in Trinidad and Tobago, and that focused on local cyber resilience and collaboration. The open forum provided an inclusive space with open dialogue, questions, and concerns directly with the board of the Trinidad and Tobago Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Group, which is the convener of the TTIGF, and it encouraged free-flowing discussion and extended consultation. On day two, we started with the youth session. This included students from high schools around the country. The topic was bullying in the cyber age. That topic came up from the youth. It was youth-driven and solution-focused. Young people discussed the effect of cyberbullying on mental health and proposed practical solutions. The Digital Transformation and Financial Inclusion panel looked at fintech and financial inclusion. And then we had a presentation on disaster resilience and artificial intelligence, using that to predict floods and hurricanes. Engagement and participation. We had 214 attendees via Zoom on day one and 131 on day two. We also had a rebroadcast via ISOC. I don't have those numbers for you, but I could find them. And we also were on YouTube. The panel that received the highest rating was the AI in education. I think that was where there was a lot of interest, and it was very tailored to students who were, and parents and teachers who were worried about using AI for cheating and how we could use it in schools and so on, because that's one of the areas that people have been very focused on. The open forum, community-led discussion space, we had audience-driven topics and questions, and it reinforced the TTIGF's bottom-up multi-stakeholder approach to governance. All the topics were raised by the audience. We didn't create any, the organizing committee didn't create any questions. These were all brought in by the people who participated. How we dealt with it. We used the website, our IGF.TT website, and the Eventbrite for registration. We did a lot of social media promotion. We would like more in-person focus groups of feedback and a stronger CTU partnership. Hi, Rodney. And TTIGF in general, TTIGF 2025 raised awareness of AI, cybersecurity, and digital transformation. Cyberbullying effectively, it empowered youth voices with regard to their digital future. It advanced conversations on financial inclusion and disaster resilience, and the TTIGF believe continues to play a vital role in shaping Trinidad and Tobago's multi-stakeholder digital future. Our next IGF, the 10th Annual Trinidad and Tobago Internet Governance Forum 2026, will be held on January 29th and January 30th. And our theme is the innovation paradox, balancing progress with responsibility and resilience. Historically, we have followed the global IGF's theme, but this time we decided we wanted to do something that reflected more on where we are with the digital transformation thrust that we have in Trinidad and Tobago and in other countries in the Caribbean. And so we wanted to consider the paradox. How do we accelerate innovation while ensuring that our progress remains ethical, resilient, and inclusive? So we are inviting anyone who has ideas to suggest topics where we can explore how we can evolve boldly without compromising values or long-term stability. And I think that's it. If there are any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Okay, so now I invite Mr. Max-Larson Henry of the Haiti IGF.
Good morning. It's an honor to stand before you today. Share Haiti's experience and progress on the 24th edition of our Internet Governance Forum. The simple theme of Haiti IGF, connect the unconnected, reflect the commitment born out of 5 years of dedicated effort shaped by a field visit to community work in Argentina and India, the nationwide survey on internet access, capacity building program, and hands-on deployment of resilient community-based networks. Since its launch in 2018, IGF really has positioned the forum as a space for reflection, policy dialogue, and multi-party platform for action. With more than 400 participants from various regional hubs, the Haiti IGF 24 focused on one core objective: bringing sustainable connectivity to remote reserve for local community-driven networks. Our approach empowers people to stop putting for solutions and start building them themselves. This commitment paid off as it earned its ITU recession prize each year for the Community Networks Haiti Initiative. This award recognizes the local, global relevant model of connectivity, one rooted in community ownership and local resources. This achievement was also celebrated by Haiti Communication Regulator and by the Ministry of Public Works and Communication. Their recognition underscores the importance of field stakeholder collaboration, which we have embraced. Our strategy is built on 4 pillars: simple, scalable, and community-owned infrastructure, skills and capacity building, 100 of youth trained, university and scholarship placement, carpool limonade Gunaï. Just last week, 25 participants in Gunaï completed training on building and managing community networks. Community-driven development with an observatory of community networks, keep track of deployment and progress, and sustainability with the community-led approach. Communities are empowered to build, operate, and maintain scale affordable connectivity, reinvest revenue to expand and scale networks, and finally develop local governance model. Today, our internet community networks are in over 100 locations, from schools in the market, in the north, supported by Haitian organizations in the diaspora, academic institutions, chess national federation, and chess club, municipalities in the islands of Lacona, to a fisherman village in the south in Varadero. We work with dozens of schools, universities, and centers in all 10 departments of Haiti. However, connectivity alone is not enough. Connect the unconnected is also about training the next generation. We have launched boot camps and workshops in networking, IoT, statistics, cybersecurity, etc. These are not luxury skills. They are valuable tools for the digital age. Connect the unconnected is also about cybersecurity, internet as it has been mentioned. Family, this is just a issue. We must go to the expertise and community awareness to protect our network and movements. For 3 years now, the Haitian Internet Society chapter are working with providers as part of the Trusted Partner program to contribute to a safer internet. Connect the internet is not about artificial intelligence. AI is always reached how we were located before. Look from the Caribbean, we are the consumers. They are the creators of social for their own realities. We have to learn to work with various local stakeholders, integrating AI literacy into high school and university curricula. Connecting Connected is about the knowledge economy. 82 children that of the Caribbean depends on our ability along the traditional industry to transition also into knowledge-based economic grounded in education, research, innovation, equal access to tools and skills for all. So, at its core, Connecting Connected is not just a slogan, it's a vision for inclusion. It's about communities shaping their own futures. In addition to the universal acceptance, I come to celebrate Creole as our local language and local domain name.ht, which we celebrated earlier this year. Upcoming events such as Global Day, Cybersecurity Month, and the Haitian School of Internet Governance will provide important opportunities to raise awareness among local stakeholders about key internet ecosystem issues. Looking ahead, the Internet Governance Forum scheduled for 2025 will serve as a milestone moment, a chance to reflect on what we have accomplished over the past 5 years and to lay the groundwork for the future of networks in Haiti. The forum will focus on critical issues such as internet safety, local funding, exploring sustainable community-based crowdfunding financing model, scaling and sustainability, ensuring long-term impact beyond the first year of operation of internet network, capacity building and artificial intelligence, digital transformation for local government, content development for secondary school. Despite the hurdles, we believe our true limits are not financial. They are limits of vision, imagination, public policy, political will, and solidarity. Let us rise to the challenge. Let us connect those who remain unconnected. Let us plan, build, and move forward together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. I now invite Mr. Marcellus Constance from the St. Vincent and the Grenadines, IGF.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Yes, my name is Marcellus. I represent Society St. Vincent and Grenadines. Okay, so I am giving this opportunity to provide a brief report on our last forum, which took place in October of 2024. For those of you who may not, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, by a hurricane, it looked like actually June 1st of 2024. So the Internet Society decided that it was to have a forum to do our experiences as it relates to communications, because our communication networks were not prepared to take place. So we sent invitations to various motor stakeholders, business managers, network and regular civilians in order to discuss our experiences and discuss how best we can make our networks visit any future disaster. So the event was one day, and we had 3. The first was from the Emergency Management Organization, and what they basically spoke about is what the difficulty in maintaining effective channel during and the hurricane. We also had one of the major. So I just wanted to share a brief video.
Wreaked havoc through the southern Grenadines, claiming at least 3 lives so far. 98% of the housing stock is damaged or destroyed, and with limited aid, the lone warehouse under pressure and tensions rising. With electricity and telecommunications still down, it's difficult to get a true assessment of those impacted remotely, but the
So we have the opportunity here today as we come together to share our experience.
And of course, the communication network were mostly and seriously affected. The total economic damage estimated at US $230.6 million, or equivalent to approximately 22% of SVG's 2023 gross domestic product.
Point of time before the hurricane passed, we were talking, we were communicating, whether via radio, via WhatsApp, whatever the case may be. But as soon as that hurricane passed over, it was dead air. It was nothing. We had no way of reaching to understand what was happening, even to update the media houses and so forth at some point. Because while we have a redundant system in the sense that we have both Flow and Digicel, at some point both were lost, right? And even though we had the radio system, we could only reach to a certain point, because after going down we realized that the towers were damaged, the repeater and everything was damaged, so therefore we couldn't get to them. The thing about it
from up here, it's kind of taxing. No, because I am responsible for Grenada, this is what I did. Grenada was able to restore quicker than us, right? Because I was responsible for that restoration also. So they were able to restore quicker in Carriacou and PM, Petit Martinique. So what I did was to increase the power of the transmitters in Carriacou and PM, and that causes overlap coverage right up to Canawan. So we were just designing and what we discover is that the 4-leg towers are not as strong as the 3-leg towers because of aerodynamics. Those who study physics might understand that.
Like I said before. And the plan kind of outlines, you can either have from cybersecurity breaches to natural calamities to technical glitches or unforeseen circumstances. And we all live in a world now that things like that happen. And NIST is something that's available online. As a business, you can actually go and look at the framework. And we actually just have that as a gateway, so you can access your environment or your data center and so forth like that in a very seamless way, right? Especially during emergency and stuff like that.
The Internet Society St. Vincent chapter and the IGF team, I'd first like to express our gratitude to our esteemed presenters from NEMO, Flow and Fortinet who partnered with us. Your insights into internet resilience and disaster recovery were both enlightening and thought-provoking. The knowledge you share has enriched our understanding of how critical network resilience is in the face of disasters such as Hurricane Beryl.
Okay, yeah. Thanks. And given that the station was in Cuba, I used an AI to put some Spanish subtitles. Some things don't make sense, please. Yes, so as mentioned, but we hope to have it in of this.
While we try to get our next speaker, Mr. Aggrey Marsh of the Guyana IGF online, we'll go to Miss Lilian Rojas of the...
For this forum, and I want to bring you greetings from the individuals who are members of this forum, and I want to congratulate you for this important Caribbean forum that is being held every year and addresses very important topics for our region. As you're aware, the Latin American and Caribbean Internet Governance Forum is a space of open dialogue in which we hope that everyone participates in an equal footing and we can generate agreements and resolutions on the basis of consensus. And we also generate and we also promote regional cooperation. Our structure includes the multiple stakeholder committee that looks at the strategy of the forum, and it has 12 members from different sectors and the technical community, government, private sector, civil society, and it is renewed regularly with different organizations and entities that are becoming members of the committee. Then we also have a workshop selection committee that was selected in 2024 for the first time, in which 12 members were selected from all sectors in order to define the criteria for an open call to recommend sessions for the 2024 IGF, and there was also a process of review of these sessions, and I will be discussing some of the takeaways, from these evaluations. And we also have intersessional working groups. This is something that we have designed within IGF in order to shape these groups, and we also have an executive secretariat that is held by Colnodo, and I represent this organization, Colnodo. And this secretariat is renewed every 3 years, with and this last period, and the period this current period is started in 2023. Therefore, will be in the secretariat in 2026, and then we also hold an annual event. This is the current composition of the multiple stakeholder committee membership. This year we had a renewal of the government sector. One of the actors, which is the Ministry of IT and Communications, and from Colombia. And like I was saying, we are renewing the various actors that are members of this committee. Then you also have the technical committee sector. We have ICANN, LACNOC, and TLD. In the civil society, we have the Association for the Communications Progress, Digital Rights, and IPANTEC. In the private sector, we have ALI, ACIET, and LACIGF. And in the government, we have the government of Chile, represented by this foreign ministry, and like I said, also the government of Colombia, represented by the Ministry of IT and Communications, and the government of Uruguay through the electronic government agency and the Uruguayan Information Society organization. And then we also have the workshop selection committee, as I was saying a while ago. It was established in 2024, and it is staffed by 12 individuals, 3 from each sector. This year, 2025, well, that 1/3 of its membership was renewed, and this is the current membership. From the technical committee, we have individuals from NIC Chile, NIC Brazil, and from the University of Yucatan in Mexico. In the private sector, we have an independent lawyer that represents private sector companies, and the Colombian Chamber of Infrastructure and Telecommunications, and CETLA from Mexico. And the civil society, we have with us Digital Action, and Fundación Carisma, and the Derecho. And then from the government, we have representatives now from the Ministry of IT and Communications in Colombia, and the School of National Defense from Argentina, as well as a representative from Costa Rica, who is also a member of parliament there. And so with support of these committees, last year That is November 7th through 8th. We held the 17th Latin American Caribbean IGF in Santiago de Chile. In principle, what these were the items that were discussed, and these items were selected through an open call, in which was AI and emerging technology, human rights, cybersecurity, universal access and significant connectivity, and governance and environmental sustainability, education and digital literacy, gender and diversity, and ethical and legal challenges. And as a local partner, for this event, we relied on the Fundación Datos Protegidos and other Chilean organizations involved in the Chilean internet and digital policies. The meeting was held at the heart of Santiago de Cuba, Torre Telefónica, and we had 262 people who participated in person during the event. During the event, we had an opening ceremony, and we had 18 parallel sessions. We had 3 sessions in parallel, so 18 sessions were held of different nature, including debates and roundtable discussions. And we also had 3 chats, and we also had 4 plenary sessions on different topics. And in all of these sessions, we had around 120 panelists, moderators and rapporteurs, and we had 12 interns, and we also had the opportunity to coordinate activities for 1 day of integration, which was a day prior to the start of the IGF on November 6th, in which different organizations presented their events. And we also had a cocktail party among that was attended by many of the participants in the activities. All of these sessions, all of these parallel sessions were selected by a group of 69 sessions were presented by individuals from all over the region, and in fact, different strategies were presented, and we also had attendance of people from different sectors as speakers and workshop facilitators. The workshop committee had to do a hard work in order to select these 18 sessions that were eventually included in the IGF agenda. The results from these sessions and the plenary sessions have been loaded on our webpage, with video presentations and rapporteur reports that's showing everything that occurred in the course of these sessions. In regards participation, the 53% of the attendees were women, 44% were men, and 1.5% were non-binary. Now, the countries that had the largest participation in person in the event were Brazil, with 33%, and followed by Chile with 27% attendees, and then we followed by Colombia with 7.6%, and Argentina with 7.3%, and other foreign countries like Mexico 4.6%, and there were other countries in participation, for a total of 18 countries in attendance of this event and the discussions held there. And in regards, in-person participation, participation by sector, we have 42% share held by the civil society, and 15.3% was held by the academia sector, 17% was held by the technical community, and 14% share by the private sector, and we all have 4.6% share by the government, and 2.7% communications and other sectors, 3.8%. There are some other statistics. We had 12 interns of different countries in Argentina, Mexico, Peru, Brazil, Colombia, the DR, Uruguay, and Bolivia. All of the video presentations from the different panels and sessions are available on our webpage, and we also have a gallery of photographs, and there's also a session in which you can consult information on the forum panelists, and we also have the reports from which is also available in our webpage from the event. And in regards the 2025 this 2025 event identified the venue of the event, which will be a Córdoba, Argentina, and then the host will be City House, and then we issued an open call to select the agenda items, and we will see, the items that have been selected for this year. And like we said, the workshop selection committee membership was renewed, and we also had a number of other participation in the global IGF, in which we shared our information in regards to what's happening in the region. And we also issued a call to recommend the workshops of July 2025 with some, and we're also working in the sign of intersessional working groups, and then we will also be working on a call for scholarships and the identification of the agenda. An open call was made in order to identify choices of countries in which we could hold events, and then different nominations were presented. Argentina was the selected country with the city of Córdoba, and the host of this event is Civic House. We are expecting 250 attendees, and we will also have an open ceremony. We are expecting that we will be holding 18 parallel sessions, 4 plenary sessions, and we will also be allocating internships, for remote. These are the topics that have been selected for this year: universal access, significant connectivity, cybersecurity, human rights, interculturality and diversity, governance, AI governance, and data governance, and digital cooperation, environment, and sustainability. On our webpage, you will also find additional details of other topics that will be proposed to be discussed in the context of these agenda items, and also the results from the consultation from which with these topics that were selected for the agenda. We also call for recommending sessions. This call was issued on July 29, and it will be available till August 24th, and then the evaluation will occur between August 25 and September 24, 2025, and the publication of results will occur October 1st. Of course, we also have different types of sessions, and we will have roundtable discussions and presentations, sessions, and the entire information. This call is available from our webpage, and we also want to recognize the donors for our IGF 2025. These donors have been supporting IGF, including the Inter-American Association of Telecom Companies, ALI, and the Brazilian International Management Committee, and GSMA, and ISOC Foundation, and LACNIC. And let me also want to please visit our webpage. It was renewed last year, and we are also providing a space for the regional and national governance initiatives. And so you will find a session in which you will find links to all of the national and regional initiatives for Latin America and the Caribbean. And we also have some news reports in regards to the activities that are being carried out in the region. For example, all of the national forum meetings and their results, rapporteur reports. And so we invite you to visit these web pages. And we also have a mailing list, and you can join this mailing list. And through this, we can send key information about the IGF. And we are also issuing a newsletter in which we have the latest news in regards to the forum. We are also active in the social media, and therefore you can follow us through them and hear more about what is happening in terms of internet governance and digital policies in our region. This is all I had to present. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, rounding out IGFs, we have the Guyana IGF. Last year, the CIGF was held in Guyana, where it was first launched. And coming out of that IGF was the formation of the Guyana IGF. And we're joined by Mr. Aggrey Marsh, who will provide an update on their progress.
Okay, great. So since we launched, we had 2 events. One, to deal with World Internet Day, which is late last year. I think it was October. Had a small gathering as about 8 to 10 person show up. And then we move into the new year. We had a large event, about between 15 to 20 persons. And well, before that, when we formed with about 22 persons at the first initial meeting. A small event for World Internet Day, and then we had a follow-up session with OneCom, which is a local telecom here, and the University of Guyana Computer Club, which essentially are current students at the University of Guyana, and they have an ICT club that focuses on cybersecurity. So that's out of forming. That's our first partnering event where we partnered with the computer club at the University of Guyana. For the year, we have been discussing. We planned a few out of town events that we were not able to accomplish because of some local unrest in the country. So we have shelved that for now, and we plan something bigger for the ending of the year. Ongoing, we have been pushing conversation of the of what intergovernance is and getting different stakeholders involved. Currently, we have the representative from the government, University of Guyana, two telecommunications company, and we are working with a few other local companies to get their participation. Additionally, we have the support of the spouse of the current British ambassador to Guyana, who's a technologist, who's been very active in supporting the young IGF. Additionally, we are working on, given that Guyana recently got an internet exchange point that is headquartered and hosted at the University of Guyana Turkine campus, we are currently discussing internally on ensuring that all members of the IGF, regardless of where the stakeholders come from, that they understand, one, what is an internet exchange point, two, what it can do for us, and three, what are the things and the guiding principles behind it, supporting it, and even looking at other locations or suggested locations to have same platform. We have done those three things, and we are definitely working on getting a session with the persons who now manage our internet exchange point as housed at the University of Guyana. So that's where we are now as IGF. Plans for next year, we really want to start reaching out to different parts of Guyana. So the first planned trip is to Berbice, which is heading towards Suriname. Persons from Suriname who may be attending. And then the second one is planned to go to Linden. So yeah, that sums up where we are over here.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to go to Ms. Anja Gengo of the UN IGF Secretariat. The UN IGF Secretariat is a long-standing supporter of the CIGF.
Well, thank you very much. And it's a great pleasure to hear from so many of my colleagues that we are working through the Secretariat on a daily basis. And I want to recognize their great work. I know also from experience that it's far from being easy to organize these inclusive processes so that every single person, stakeholder in their respective communities feel included, consulted before the program that is relevant to everyone is delivered. There is one colleague that I have to say I'm really missing having him here, Mr. Nigel Casimir, and he's been really instrumental, among other NRI coordinators, in helping the Secretariat to neutrally steer the NRI's global network toward the objectives of their interest, and then that's of relevance to all stakeholders. At the beginning of this year, this is how we always start the IGF cycle. The NRIs as a network consulted to develop bottom-up their work plan. And this is a very specific year, and that specificity is reflected in the work plan that at the end was adopted by now 176 officially recognized NRIs. I'm saying it's specific because of the WSIS Plus 20 renewal, because of the implementation of the Global Digital Compact, because of the challenges with reaching the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the role digital technologies play in that sense. So on the program, there were two major, I would say, components. The first one was the representation of the Global NRIs network at the 20th annual IGF meeting in Norway, in Lillestrøm, that was hosted end of June. And then the second part is the contribution of the NRIs network to these processes that I've just mentioned, such as the WSIS Plus 20, GDC, achieving SDGs, and similar. And I'm very pleased to confirm that in less than 5 months effectively, this really robust network managed to consult internally and to deliver 5 really good quality sessions at the IGF in Norway, including the traditional NRIs coordination session. This is the annual meeting basically taking place in person and also online at the annual IGF meeting, where the network is engaging with the global community to understand what more is needed and then to understand better where the network should be heading in the near future. And then after the IGF in Norway, we switched more actively working on contributing to the WSIS Plus 20 review, building on and using this opportunity that the WSIS Plus 20 consultations are presenting to the NRIs to contribute to it. If you look at the page of the WSIS Plus 20 review, the webpage, then you will see that there is a joint contribution developed by all NRIs related to WSIS Plus 20 review with some really specific, concrete, tangible recommendations or plan of action from the NRIs to the member states in December in terms of where digital governance or internet governance could head after 2025. And so I won't go into details, but I do think it might be of interest to you to consult that document. You will see really specific proposals, such as, for example, more cooperation by the multi-stakeholder organizing committees of the NRIs with the legislators, with the parliamentarians who are having a very important job, which is to set up the rules of concrete behavior for the communities. And if you're regulating the concept of digital technologies, any piece of it, then there is the recommendation that they should be informed through a multi-stakeholder input, which in the majority of the countries and regions still you can find only through an existing national IGF or a sub-regional or a regional IGF, and of course, or the youth IGFs. So there is that advantage of the mechanisms. And in the coming months, the network will continue working on promoting better that document. But also it will use this opportunity that we are not anymore as a network consumed with preparations, for example, for the annual IGF meeting, given that it's been hosted already, to be more present as a global network in various parts of the world. So Lilian mentioned the LACIGF is coming up. The Asia Pacific IGF is also coming up in October. So those are, for example, the 2 meetings where the network will hopefully have more active local representation. And of course, it will continue promoting this idea, this vision that the NRIs have through the WSIS Plus 20 consultations, including continuing to contribute to the upcoming zero draft that we are expecting to come in the coming days. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anja. And Mr. Casimir says thank you. He's following online. So at this time, we will take any questions. Okay, so seeing no questions, I would like to ask my online panelists to stay on with their cameras so we can take a photo. And I'll hand you over to Deron.
Muchísimas gracias, Shanea. Por favor, el equipo técnico que lo...
Thank you very much. Please, let's have the images of the presenters once again online. And the photographer, please.
El aplauso para nuestros panelistas.
Let's give it up to our panelists.
Haciendo un sumario más o menos de lo que
Just a summary of what we've heard this morning.
han dicho, porque evidentemente hay vías, hay opciones.
There are platforms and opportunities and networks that help us connect with each other so that we can understand the role we play in the digital transformation, where we're standing and how much we can do going forward. And make sure that the human being is at the center of technology and empower communities and reach out to people. There is a Caribbean religion philosophy that says this: we're coming together and we thrive together. Based on this principle, we need to continue to grow from our own Caribbean philosophy. We will meet again at 2 p.m. We'll be meeting again here at 2 p.m. because we have a hectic agenda for this afternoon. So we will go out for lunch now. We come back for lunch, and then enjoy your lunch and please come back for our session this afternoon. Thank you.